Hi Anil, good afternoon.
Hi Srikanth, good afternoon.
Anil, go through your topic.
Okay, I'm sharing PPT. Is it visible, Srikanth?
Yes, Anil.
Okay. Today topic is about user variables, where the user variables act as a filters in the data forms. And we will see how the user variables use in following artifacts like data forms and then runtime prompts, business rules, and then smart sheet. In the slide, we will see how to create the user variables and some of the questions like here. What is the use of user variables? The main of use of the user variables is to give the choice to the users to choose own members on his preference in data forms or in business rules. And the second question is, what is the difference between the user variables and substitution variables? Here, the user variables and substitution variables both are created by the administrators, uh, and the substitution variables are created in global wise. And once the substitution variables are created and modified, then those are applied for all the users in the application. For user variables, the user can have the choice. He can choose the own members uh, on his preference. This is the main difference. And the third one, which use case do we use user variable over substitution variable? For this question, I will explain with example. Mm, Suppose we take entity dimension under suppose they are users. One user want to see for a particular reason, division or a reason, then the user then the user can select the reason. Suppose the user want to see the south region, then he can select the south region from different entity members. Mm, on his choose. Coming to substitution variables, the user cannot have choice to select and to see the particular reason. In that case, we use the user variable there. And the third, can you show me how to create a user variable from the following use case? The use case one is, assume user one is the owner of two entities and assign those two entities as values to the entity dimension. He said that to create the user variable for entity dimension and uh, select two members from that entities from that dimensions. And there is a note point, since we do not have the list of users in the application, so try to explain how user variables behaves by using the admin user only, by using the use case assumption. Now I will show you how to create the user variables from the administration, from the admin only. Now go to the application home page. From the navigator, click on navigator. Here under tools, there is a user variable preference, user variable card. Click on user variable card. Once you click on it opens, and here we'll see the existing user variables which we created already. If you want to create a new user variable, you need to click on the add. Then you will see here the new. Then here you need to select the dimension which you want to create for a user variable for that dimension. As in the slides, user case one, he said you need to create for entity dimension. So I selected the entity here, and here you need to give the name for that user variable. So here I am giving the name as a user underscore en underscore e. Now I am selecting here the members for that user variable. Clicking on the member selector. as in the user case one, he said you need to select any two entities from that. Here I'm selecting EN01 French and Singapore 1, Singapore 2. After selecting, click on OK. Now the selection was completed. After selecting, we need to click on save. Then after clicking save, the records was saved successfully displays. Then you need to click on OK. And now here you can see that here the user variable I given the name as user E. It was created based on my selection of the entities. Now coming to the slides. Here we will see in this slide the uses of user variables in the data forms. The first one, can you reuse any of the data forms and show me how to use the user variable as per the use case from the slides 3. Yes, we can use the data forms reuse. We can reuse the data forms. First, I'm showing the how to we use reuse the forms from the navigation under create and manage. Click on the forms cluster, forms card. Um, Now I'm taking my already I have created a form which I want to reuse. So this is my form user variable. After clicking selecting, we need to click on edit. Under layout tab, here I already selected UK. So I am removing and I want to add the user variable. So I am removing. This is the entity dimension under variables, which we created as a user E. Now clicking on that and we need to click add. After we need to click OK. Now the user variable was added for the entity dimension. This is how we can reuse the form. After adding, we need to click on save. Then the form has been saved. Now coming to the slides. Here, can you explain how user one can access the data form which is created based on the above question in details of how the users are restricted to the entities of the ownership. We will show how the users will be restricted and the navigation from the application. After creating of the user variables, the user must have to select the entities on his preference. Now under tools, there is a user preference. Under user variables, the user must have to select the entity. Here is the user variable E. Now I'm selecting one of the member. Under EN01, I selected as a France and Singapore. Now I'm selecting as a Singapore. After selecting OK. Then after selection was made, we need to save those records. So I'm clicking on the save icon. Now the user preference has been saved successfully. After saving, we need to this is how the users can restrict the members. And from slides, now see the third one. Should user one supposed to access any of the entities other than the two entities she wants in the data forms? We will show in navigation from the application. From the navigator, we need to click on the under a tools cluster. We need to click on the user preference. After selecting user variables, here is the user variable dimension, user variable which we created. Now the user can select the members on his choose which we added only two entities. Other than two entities, he cannot have access for other than entities. This is how the user can only access for these only members only. After selecting, we need to, and we will show in the form preview how the user selection was how the user variable was added member. From the user variable, click on edit. Here already we added the user variable, so I'm previewing the form to show how, as the selection we made in the user and sync up, which is added here. Now coming to the slides. For the third question, my answer is to no. Other than two entities, he does not have access for that entities. Here is the sum of the user requirements. Can you show me how to enable a dynamic user variables? Now I will show how to enable the dynamic variables from application. Now go to other options. Here the dynamic under a dynamic user variable. First, we need to enable the dynamic user variable. Once the dynamic user variable was enabled, you can able to select the user variables, which here you can see the available user variables which we created in our application. Now we created as a user E, so I selected and I am adding the user variable for the particular form. After adding, we need to save the form. Now we will see in the preview how the user variable under a POV section, we will see the user dynamic variable which was added to the form. The user variable name is user E, and that we selected as EN01 in Singapore. Now coming to the slides. The second point is take any parent entity as an example. So how only the children of that parent entities are filtered in the data form. He said that you take any of the parent entity from entity dimension, and so the children's of that parent should be filtered in the form. Now I will go to the application, and for that I am creating a new user variable from the navigator. From on the tools cluster, click on variable card. Now I'm repeating the same steps, clicking on the plus icon. Here I'm selecting the entity dimension, and I'm giving the name as user parent. Clicking on the member selector to add the members of from entity dimension. From the slides, he shared that you need to select the parent and you can filter the childs of that particular entity. So I am using functionality selector effects. Here I selecting the level 0 descendants, which adds the children of that all children of the particular entity en01 of. After selecting, we need to click OK. After selecting, we need to click save to save the records of the user variable. Now the records was saved successfully, displays. Then click on OK. Now we will see how user can filter the user variables from the children's from parent entity. Now go to the user preference card. Here is the user parent variable. Now select member selected. The way here the user can select, make a choice Here we selected EN01 as a parent. Now these are the children's, so he can filter by selecting any of the members, child members from the parent of EN01 by clicking on OK. And after selecting, we need to click save. This this is how the user can filter the members, children of the particular parent entities. And the fourth one, when the data form is saved, the business rule should run only in the context of the entity selection made. Um, and now I will show how the business rule was run based on the selection of creation of the form. Now we need to go to the from navigator, create and manage, click on forms. My folder is data forms. Here is my form user variable. I'm now editing. Under business rules tab, we will see the business rules which in our applications. After suppose you want to add the particular business rule to the form, select the business rule and click on add. Now the rule will be added here. After adding, there is in below business rule properties, there is a options when the business rule should run. If you select, if you enable here, then the business rule will run before the load process. If you select here, then it runs after load. If you want to run before save, you need to select here. Now I selected as a run before save and use the members on the form I am selecting. For consolidation and translated, I am adding only these two business rules here, and I selected the. After selecting, we need to click on the save option to say what the changes we made for the form. Now the form has been saved. Now coming to slide. In this slide, we will see how the usage of user variables in RTP. The first one, can we use your user variable in RTP? Yes, we can use RTPs. We can use the user variables in the RTPs. The second one, if it is yes, can you limit the user variable in RTP to be able to restrict user one from accessing the entities other than he or she wants? Yes, we can limit the user variables in RTP and we can restrict from one user from accessing the entities where the selection made from here he wants. Now I will show in the application how to limit the from the navigation icon. Create and manage. Under create and manage, there is a rules card. Click on the rules card. After creating, you need to under actions. There is a user variable design. Now click on variable design. Here we will see as if you want to create from global wise or from application. This is the application. You need to select the type. I'm selecting here as a global, and these are the existing RTPs which we create earlier. Now I want to create a new one, so I am going to the actions. There is a new, then I am clicking new. Here under properties, we should give the name. I'm giving as a period underscore of e. In the type, I want to choose members. If we choose a type as a member, then we have a choice to select the type, dimension type. So I selected as a member. Here I'm selecting entity which the user variable was created for the entity dimension. If you want to limit the user variable, then we need to click on enable the RTP. Once we enable the RTP, then we get the limit. So here we need to give the amplifier and the name of the user variable which we created. So our user variable is user e, and I'm giving the same in the default value also at the rate of user underscore e. Under RTP test, you can enter the test which you want to display. I'm giving the enter entity member. After we need to click on save to save this change creation. We need to click on the save option under beside actions. Now the variable was saved successfully. Then we need to click on OK. Then here you can see which we created. It was saved as RTPE. Now coming to the slides. Use this RTP in the business rules, and it show me how it works. Use this RTP in the business rules. It show me how it works. Okay, in the navigation. From application. Here the rules card. Click on the rules card. Here is the existing business rules which we created. Suppose click on the launch for one of the rule. Here you will see the message RTPs which we create given, like enter the entity members if existing user variable. This is how the user RTPs will work on the business rules. Now coming to the slides. In this slide, we will see how the uses of the user variables in business rules. The first point, can you show me how to use the user variables in business rules? Can you show me how to use the user variables in the business rules? Yeah. From the navigation. This is the business rule. How to create or how to use only. From the navigation. This is the business rule. Here we will see this is the user variable. For selection, we need to select the entities. So once we use the user variable, then based on the user preference only, it was selected. We no need to go there and you need to select the members of the entity dimension. This is the main use of using user variables. Suppose coming to years, we need to go to the year dimension and we need to select which year you want. This is a difficulty, but user has a focus for only the single entity which he selected in the user preference. You can see here for EN01 you have only one single member. This is how the user variable was used in the business rule. Now coming to the slides. The second point, can you explain which what advantage does the usage of the user variable has over substitution variable? By using the main advantage by using user variables, that the user has a choice to select on his own members from the entities. Coming to substitution variables, he does not have uh, the users does not have to have a choice to select the members from entities. Only the administrator will the set up the substitution variables, and the combinations will applied for all the users under that application. This is the main advantage. And the third one, can you explain which of the following approach is recommended and not recommended for using entities in business rules? Please explain why if you can. Yes. There are the four: hard coding entity and using user variables, and using substitution variable, and using RTP. Hard coding is nothing but we need to select manually from a particular member from the entity, from the dimensions. It is very hard for the users and going to that particular dimension and selecting the member which he wants. So we use the user variables and substitution variables. Here the substitution variables and the user variables and the RTPs are same. Both are similar. Uh, but by using RTP, we can get a RTP test under business rules. We can know that how which members we are uh, going to run this place. For coming for user variables and substitution variables, there is we do not know which member was selecting under under the members. So I strongly recommended to use RTPs only. Now I will show how to create the user variables in RTP. First, we need to go to the navigation under create and manage rules. Click on rules. Now, under actions, click on new object. Now you need to select the type of the object as EPM cloud, and the application which I am using is FCCSO object, and the cube is console, and the object type I want to add the rules, so I am selecting the object type is rule. So and the name of the rule I am giving as a custom. Custom underscore rule 5. After giving the name, we need to click on OK. Then the rule was created and it is opening for the editing purpose. Now click on OK. Then you can see the custom rule under system. We need to expand. We can see the existing rules under console. There is a rules. Once you expand the console, here under rules, you can see which was created as a rule custom rule file, and you can see you can also open the existing ones here, and you can edit the custom rules also. By double tapping on the name of the custom rule, you can edit. This is the rule which I created. Now I'm by using RTP, I will add the rule. No, this is I'm clicking on the custom rule file. This is our new one. So here I am giving the script as a fix, and our RTP name is RTP underscore E. After that, we need to enter and fix. After entering, we need to click on save. Once the rule is saved successfully, then it shows the custom rule is saved. Now, after saving, we need to click on validate. Validation is used for to show is there any errors from the script or not. Once the validation successful without errors, it shows and says the rule was validated with no errors and it was saved successfully. Now click on OK. Once the validation was completed, here you can see the rule was under variables, which is the RTP is added. Once we need to click on deploy, validate and deploy to deploy the rule to the business rules. By clicking on the deploy, the rule will be added on the business rule. Now the deployment was successful. Now click on OK. This is how we create the rules and adding the RTPs for that business rule, and we will see how it works. Now on this page, under navigator, click on rules card. After clicking, here you will get, once you refresh, now you will see the custom rule file which we created. Now click on launch. The user variable which we created earlier is the user file which is added, and the text which the RTP text which given here is a entity, enter the entity members. Now coming to the slides. And in this slide we will see how to use the user variables in Smart View. In that question, can you explain how to insert a user variable from Smart View from case 1 from the slide 3? Now I'm taking the blank worksheet, Excel sheet. Now click on the Smart View and click on panel. Under shared connections, we need to log in with our credentials from our username and password. Here I'm logging with admin. Entering my password. After entering username and password, we need to click on go. After we need to select on the EPM cloud and expand our application. Under libraries, you will see our data form folder where our forms were. This is the user variable form. Before you clicking ad hoc analysis, we need to choose under options, data. Under data options, we need to disable the suppress missing blocks. Once you click on OK, now click on the form and click here ad hoc analysis. Now the form will appear here. Here I am entering the name of the amplifier with the name of the user variable. Here is the name of the user variable is user E. After entering, you need to click on enter and refresh. Once I go to the file application, for that form whether the as we added Once there are two entities, so I remove one of the entity from the application. The layout. And clearing. I'm clearing. After that, we need to click on save. Once the data form has been saved, click on preview to see. Now there is a one entity, so it will reflect in the form. After entering the username, we need to click on refresh. I'm opening new sheet because it was I was refreshing, but it was not changed. After entering, you need to click on add. Sorry, under Smart View options, we need to select the suppress the data forms once again. After selecting, you need to refresh. Now the page appears. So now here you need to enter the name amplifier with the name of the user variable. After entering the amplifier, you need to refresh. Now we will see the user variable was added here, EN01 Singapore, which we selected in the user preference. This is how we use the user variables in Smart View. The source and the slide. In this topic, we have concluded shows you how the uses of the user variables in the following artifacts in data forms, how we use it, and in RTPs and in business rules. And finally, at last, we shown you how to use the user variables in Smart View. And thank you, Srikanth.
Thank you, Anil, for your valuable time.
Thank you.